I asked you all for questions on Facebook the other day, and I got a bunch, so let's get started. The first question is from Raymond. Raymond says, how can I get a good driver's license photograph? Get enough rest the night before and be hydrated. That's my best model advice. The next question is from Howard. Howard says, what funky dish does your family make for Thanksgiving? Do you have any unusual Thanksgiving Day traditions? Well, they do this thing called 5-cup salad, which involves marshmallows, canned fruit, sour cream, and other things. We don't really have any unusual holiday traditions in general, though, other than maybe that we always play silly kid games, even when there aren't any kids there. The next question that I have is from Jeff. Jeff says, high key and low key backdrop. What type of backdrop do you use? 2, how tall is it? 3, is it curved at the transition from vertical to horizontal? 4, how far on the floor does it extend? I have several backdrops. For high key, I typically use my white roll paper backdrop. It's 107 inches by 12 yards, but I just unroll as much as I need. And then for low key, I most often use my black backdrop, and it's the same paper size. My next question is from Corey. Corey says, 2 questions. Do you use a light meter, and if so, what one? Also, what do you think of color checker passport? I don't use a light meter, and I don't use color checker passport either, but that is a really good idea. The next question is from Jabez, maybe? Jabez asks, I am planning to open my own business in photography. How would you sell your products to the public, and what is the best location to start off? I just suggest by taking lots of photos, practice on people take photos of, things around the house. Just practice as much as you can, and then try to work with some photographer in your area, or more than one photographer in your area. That'll get you experience. The next question is from Paul. Paul asks, why is my toe infected? Yikes. I don't know. I've lost a few toenails from running for long distances. Could that be it? My next question is from Alex. Alex asks, how do you deal with crappy lighting, like bright middle of the day using no modifiers? And then he says, lately I've been shooting negative film and dual ISO with magic lantern in those situations. It all depends on the crappy lighting. If I'm shooting outside in the middle of the day, I simply try to find shade. The next question is from Blaze. Blaze? Anyway, he asks, what is the atomic weight of selenium? What time is it in Istanbul? Who invented the cotton gin? Well, it's been way too long since I've taken a chemistry class to answer the question about selenium, but it's currently 8:28 in Istanbul, and Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin. I hope that was helpful, or at least entertaining. Let's see. The next question is from David. David says, ooh, this is a good question. If you were a lens, what lens would you be and why? So, I would be a 50 millimeter f1.8 on an FX body, or a 35 millimeter on a DX body. Simple, good for lots of things, but not more than you need most of the time. Next question is from Ben. Ben asks, what was your first video about? Well, the first video of me ever was during a dance recital, but as SnapChick, it was my unboxing of my Nikon D300S. And my next question is from Jeff. Jeff says, why a bright orange couch? LOL, I like it, but why? Well, Jeff, orange is my favorite color. I'm even wearing orange pants today, which is completely by coincidence. The next question is from Kevin. Kevin says, what's the smartest camera to make the full frame jump to? Well, the first question is, why do you want to jump? You won't hear too many people say this, but I will. Depending on what you're shooting with today, the jump just may not be worth it. My next question is from Doug. Doug asks, what is the strangest photo shoot you have ever been asked to work, and how did you handle it? Well, strange is so subjective, and really, if I'm shooting something strange, it was probably my idea. Like the time I filled my bathtub up with shoes and jumped in as though I were taking a bath. Ron asks, aperture versus Lightroom. I use aperture 3. It's simple and effective. It saves me time, and it always gives me the results that I expect. Lance asks, is the Nikon 70-200 f4 worth it, or better off buying the faster lens? It depends on your situation. I have the 70-200 f2.8, and I rarely use much wider than an f4. A less expensive way to get the f2.8 capability in a similar lens is to consider the older 80-200 f2.8. It doesn't have VR, but if you're patient, you can find them used for half the price of a 70-200 f4. And my next question is from Ian. Do wireless units to put pics on iPhone work well, and if so, do you recommend? Not sure what the point is personally. I have a few options for transferring photos from my DSLR to my iPhone or iPad. I have an iFi card, and then I have a few other devices as well. And the next question is from Bill. Bill says, several times I have a colored reflection from clothing on a model's face. Example, pink top and pink reflection on her face, and the same with yellow. Both times it was outside in natural light. Any suggestions? Fixing with Photoshop is a total pain. Yes, I'm sure it is. Really, that suggests to me harsh lighting. Even, I don't know, I haven't seen the photos, but that's what I would guess. And it may be the case for diffusion of your available light or changing locations. And the next question is from Renee. Renee says, do you agree with this statement? A pro camera doesn't make yourself a pro. Yes. And then, if you control the buttons and knowledge, you can make a good picture with a cheaper camera too. Yes. If a pro camera made you a pro, there would be only one step to becoming a professional photographer. And the next question is from Scott. Scott says, what is your opinion of the latest AFS Nikkor 24-85mm f3.5 4.5G VR lens? Well, I love primes, but it's a more than adequate zoom and great when you don't know exactly what you'll be shooting. Next one is from Jonathan. Jonathan asks, what advice can you give to someone who wants to start a photography business? I want to freelance, but it seems harder than I thought. Any tips? Try to work as much as possible. If you can work with an established photographer, do it and pick up experience even if you don't get paid. Juan asks, I have a Nikon D5000 and haven't updated the software. After all this time, can I/should I? What changes can I expect if I do? Thanks. You can. The changes depend upon what updates are available. I do have a video on finding the updates. And the next question is from Adrian. What is the best way to nail focus on a portrait when you are working with a shallow depth of field? Any tips? Practice and repetition. Scott asks, what was your very first camera? It was a neon yellow brick of a camera when I was in elementary school. And then Ken asks, which fixed lens is good for portraits and video? An all-around good focal length is 50 millimeters. For a crop sensor camera, you'll be looking for around 35 millimeters. Tim asks, what do you think of the Canon Vixia model series? I owned a very early model. They seem great, but I don't have any recent experience with them. And then Kaio asks, what's your opinion of that ice light stick? It looks neat. For portable light, though, I get plenty of mileage out of using my speed lights off camera. And Jeff says, if you were to get into video making more often, i.e. film making, which DSLR would you use most often and why? Well, none of them. I use my V1 for video, or I'd invest in the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Cam. Joe asks, what is the most fun you have ever had taking photos? At an event? On a hike? Oh, Joe, most fun ever? That's tough. I love what I do, but probably while hiking and probably at the Grand Canyon. Let's see. Richard asks, will you marry me? LOL. No, but thanks for asking. Shad asks, are you interested in the new Nikon DF, and are you bothered about the lack of video and the extortionate price tag? Extortionate, is that a word? I'm totally interested in it, and as I don't really care for video on DSLRs right now, I'm not bothered by the lack of video. The price is high, but it's Nikon's prerogative to test the market and see if there are buyers at that price point. The value that they're trying to sell is that manual old school controls. And if people see the value, they'll buy it. And if they don't, Nikon may have to drop the price. Michael asks, what is the true meaning of all of this? Well, if by this you mean SnapChick, we are here to learn and have a good time. But if by this you mean life, I have no idea. I just try to have fun while doing it. Next question is from Robert. Robert says, what toy lens interests you, or which ones have you tried, i.e. Holga or Lens Baby? I have a Lens Baby, and I use it almost never. Cocoon Imaging asks, coconut water. Since getting back into shape late summer, I've turned to this, and water obviously, as a main source of hydration, and I think my body responds to it better than water. Hype or legit? Thoughts? I've done a lot of research on nutrition in the last couple of years, and I like coconut water for its electrolytes. I think it's like any electrolyte drink though. Use it when you need it, but most people don't need it most of the time. The next question is from Chris and actually Mark too. They both asked the same question. For your self-portraits, does someone else take them or do you use a remote? And it depends on the shoot. I use interval timer a lot. Sometimes I use intern Raymond or a friend if I'm doing something particularly difficult. Mark asks, about what percentage of your income is your SnapChick website and brand compared to actually running a photography business and doing weddings and portraits? So many of my favorite photographers do seminar tours and sell books and videos for a large portion of their income, like Joe McNally. I enjoy what you do and your efforts to educate new photographers. I am a full-time professional photographer, but still enjoy your stuff. It doesn't hurt that you're sexy, but that's not the main reason I view your videos. Keep up your work. Thanks. Well, thanks, Mark. But, you know, the most important thing in any art or trade is to be flexible. And with what I do, last year, this year, and next year could look completely different from an income standpoint. Sometimes I work more with my camera. Sometimes I focus more on YouTube and my site. The truly dangerous thing for me would be to put all my eggs in one basket. Having this site allows me to focus on quality experiences for shooting though. For example, I don't enjoy photographing weddings. And I know that sounds sacrilegious, but the pageantry of a typical wedding is just not something that I really enjoy. I'm a little more down to earth, I think. You know, I look at my site, my photography, and my other ventures as all a part of the same job, just different functions within that job. And the next question, and the last question, is from Bruce. When you photograph nudes, how do you get the faces and other body parts in perfect focus? Same as with any other photograph. I know my studio well, down to the distances, positioning, and required aperture to get everything in focus. This just comes from practice, and practice. And those studio skills do apply directly to similar situations when you're out shooting in the real world too. And that's it. That's all of them for now. And then I'll talk to you guys later.